All right, I made it, guys. I'm a little bit, I guess we're 2 minutes late, not too bad. Got Dawn here again tonight, and she's going to finish the series we're doing about the church. Um, I'm trying to think of something else. Oh, I'll announce it later again as we do this, but I did end up getting a membership set up for the page that everybody been asking for. So if you want to join the page, support the page, you want to become a member of the page, which will give you perks during lives and in chats. You'll get emojis, so forth, and later on maybe we can add more things. A lot of people had requested it, and a lot of people have now joined. So I just want to throw that out there. And also we have the PayPal. A lot of people ask me, do I still have the PayPal? Yes, the PayPal is still out. So we're going to get with Dawn here in just a minute and let a few more people come in. That way we can start. We got 17 in now, so I know some more people will end up showing up before we get started. Still working on the large investigation. I can't go into it very much. Spoke to the lady today. There's another lady going to also, I believe, possibly talk to me. And it's going to take a while to put it out, but I'll try to keep you all as updated on it as I can without giving out really what I'm doing. I don't know if we're going to have any moderators in here today. I don't know if Bettina or anybody made it. If not, I'll do it. Uh, but I think that's pretty much where we're at right now. It's good to see you, Brandy. Hey, Red. Hey, Daryl. Hey, Amy. And I think Dawn's ready. I think she was trying to find where she had left off in the book. But yeah, you guys are gonna love the thing I'm working on. It's a hey April. I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I think that whenever I release it, it's going to be one of the largest things probably ever released in the cryptid community. Let me bring Dawn in a little bit. She knows what I'm working on, and she can help kind of tell y'all without telling what we're doing. Let me get her in here. Hey Dawn,
Hey,
I
everybody
was
hear me
telling
okay?
everybody. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
I was telling everybody, you know the large case that I'm working on and the importance of the case. I told them we can't tell them what's going on in the case because of safety reasons for the individuals involved right now. But I was kind of telling them it's probably I think it's going to be one of the biggest video releases probably I would say in the cryptid world, maybe even bigger. What would you say? What would you
Yeah, I would think so. It scares me for your safety, but yeah,
it's we're
but
going to
yeah, I
be
think so
very
too.
popular. I think we'll be very popular in some areas and probably not real popular by certain people. You think maybe think that's how it'll work out?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
That's what I was kind of thinking. Um, but I was telling everybody it's not like it's not your common investigation. It's it's going to be something I think is going to be way different than what the cryptic world has seen released as far as what's going to come out, names, places, witnesses, things of that nature.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Probably as far as we can take it, really, without giving up too much.
Yeah.
But I had people asking me, and I told them we do have the page now. They can now join the page and become a member in the membership. A lot of people has been asking me, "Where's it at? I can't find it. I can't find it." Whenever you go to view one of my videos, it's right underneath the video beside my logo, I believe, and it will say join. It's like a join button, I believe. And you just click on that and you can join the page. I told them they get extra perks, emojis during chats and lives, and kind of helps you stand out. So
Yeah.
everybody's ready for part three. Looks like JoJo's ready and everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and let you start with part three, and we will go probably for about an hour. And
Okay. And
it's
don't know how many
yours.
parts there will be, but it's been. big notebook.
That's fine. Oh, I started a playlist for you today. So anybody that has not caught up on the videos, there's a playlist now in our videos. You can go on and catch up with everything that Dawn's been telling us in the playlist, and you can stay right on track. That way, you don't have to search through everything. It's all in a playlist now.
Okay, so where we left off was around 2004, toward the end, I think. Let's see, that would have been about December. So, of course, we had Christmas break. So the next event that I wrote down happened January 25th of 2005. And my oldest nephew was the one that saw this. He actually is the only one who saw it, but the other witnesses in the building were me and the other student, the one that saw the woman ghost. So I was tutoring her after school because her mom or one of her parents couldn't come pick her up in time or something. So usually I think I took my nephew home. But anyway, he was there. It was about 3:45, and he comes running down the hallway, looking behind him. And I said, "What's wrong?" And I said his name, so I'm not going to say his name. He said, "The ghost chased me." And I said, "Where?" And he said, "The playroom." And that playroom is kind of like a place where they can play with toys, read children's books, that kind of thing. Kind of like if it's in the wintertime or a rainy day, they have to have something fun to do. So we have this room designated for that. So me and the student, we asked him what she wore and what she looked like, and he said nothing. And he's the one that's kind of slightly autistic or has Asperger's or something. And I said, "What color are her eyes?" And he said they were black. And so he took me down there. And I felt goosebumps the closer we got to the room where he was at. And he said he was under the table and he'd called the ghost Sally, Sally, and said that Sally said, "Ah," like, I don't know how old he was. Let's see, he was born in 98, so he's probably around 6 or 7 or so. And he said that's when he got up and she chased him to one of the preschoolers' rooms because we had pre-3 and we had pre-4 and pre-K. We had two separate classrooms. So she chased him, I'm sorry, to this other room. And he said he saw her right then and said, while he was showing me the room, he said, "I actually see her." And I said, "Well, I don't see her." And he would not go in there whenever I kind of lightly pushed him because he was kind of beside me, I think, and I was behind him because he was blocking the door and I can't get past him, so I kind of pushed him to go in, just like a little nudge, not, nothing major. And he wouldn't go in there. He had his head down. I said, "I don't see her." So we left and he tried to run and look back and I told him, "Don't run," because I just didn't want him to run. Because I said, "I'm not going to let her hurt you." And he was visibly shaking. I mean, he was just really bad shaking. And so the next day, which was a Wednesday, this is when the youth group would come in and use the building. And I wrote this event down on this day, but it must have happened like the last week, sometime Sunday or Wednesday. This teenage girl was in the kitchen, and she said she heard something heavy falling in the learning center, and that's what we call our classroom, is a learning center. So one of my male students, who's a teenager, was there, and so they went back there to check it out. But see, there's nothing heavy back there anyway that could make it fall. And they said nothing was out of place. And the teenage boy was the one telling me the story. So he said they shut the double doors, and the teenage boy was by them, and he heard it again, only this time it sounded like a loud bang on the door, like something was banging on the door. And they all jumped, and another teenage girl ran into the auditorium as the male student was telling her why the building was haunted. And then so I got to turn the page now. Okay, so on the 26th of January, one of my students said at lunch she was sitting on the couch, or she was on the couch. I don't know if she was sitting or laying down. She saw a shadow of someone swaying back and forth, kind of like if somebody's rocking back and forth. And she got up and showed me how it was done. It was kind of creepy, and it really spooked me how she was doing it. And she said she saw a head shadow go past a picture that we had in the hallway into the classroom. And then the male student from the day before said that he goes, "Could Sally," that's what we called the ghost because we didn't have another name for her, could Sally make somebody fall asleep? And I said, I don't know what all demons could do, so I'm not sure. And he said he was reading, suddenly he was asleep. He'd gotten up from his chair and walked to the girls' walking room door, but it was closer to the kitchen, and it had a doorknob on it and swung shut, but there was nobody there. And I said, I think he said he was having a dream. I said, well, in the dream, were you scared? And he said, yes. So I'm not really sure, but I went ahead and put that in my book just to be on the safe side. Okay, so then from January, I don't think anything happened that I wrote down, but next event was May the 12th of 05. Two of my students had kitchen duty, and okay, the one girl was brand new. She didn't know anything about the building being haunted. So the girl that was talking about the shadow swaying back and forth, they were both in there doing kitchen duty. And she was telling her about Sally, even though I told them not to. Right. And that really bothered me because this particular student would always try to be rebellious. Teenage girls, yeah. So the new student said she heard her name being called by the bathroom and thought she was going crazy. And so that's when the first student came and told me what she said, and I got onto her for telling her anything, but I'm kind of glad she did. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have heard the story.
Right.
So we all talked for a few minutes about it. And my oldest nephew came in with me, and the first student said that she said, I heard you call my name in the auditorium. Amy, come here. Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said her name. It's kind of hard when you're reading the story.
It's okay. They won't.
Yeah. They won't know the last name. Yeah. Okay. So I said, but I wasn't in there. And she told the other student, and that freaked her out. And another student, and this would have been another brand new student, I think. She already knew about Sally because, Amy told her. I'll just go ahead and use Amy's name because she's prominent all through here. This was not the one who saw the ghost woman, by the way. So in chapel, the lights came on by themselves, and we have, let's see, I'm trying to remember how the old building is. We had lights on the sides of the building, and we had 4 globe lights in the middle. And when we built the new building, we took the globe lights out and put them in the new building. So, let's see. And the only way to turn these lights on is at the back or the front of the building, but we always came in the side, so we just turn on whatever lights we need. So now these lights came on by themselves, back and forth, and this student Amy and I looked at each other weird because you have to turn the knob. It's one of those really old ones you have to turn a knob to turn it on. So we thought there's nobody back there, because all the kids were only allowed to sit in the first 4 pews, depending on how many kids we had. So there was nobody back there at all. And so, of course, then we had, summer break. And then this would be October 25th of 05. So students came and students go. So right now it's just Amy and I are the only girls at the school, because my niece was about 1 year old, so she wasn't there yet. And anyway, we go to the I think she was showing me something in the bathroom or something. I think she got scared, and we were both going in there to see if maybe there was a pipe that would, because it's kind of cold about that time. Excuse me. And sometimes those old buildings have pipes. So we go in there and shut the door because we're looking behind the other door. It's kind of hard to do. And a sound like a kick hits the door, scares us both. We tested it, several theories of like floorboards, heavyweight, jumping up and down, slamming the door, shutting the door, but none of these theories made the sound that we heard. And so the day before, yesterday in the bathroom, Amy was in the bathroom and she heard a girl's voice say, Amy, come out here. So Amy opened the door, but there was nobody there. And that's when I wrote down some stuff that happened at home, but that's a separate book. Well, I didn't really write anything in that book yet, but okay, so the next day, the 26th of October, I was in the bathroom and I heard the kick sound again. The weather was cold, below normal, but Amy had heard the same phrase, Amy, come out. And kind of like what I heard in the office when I was by myself. And then another voice that sounded like my youngest nephew's voice at afternoon break. And I thought I heard him say, help. So I went in the kitchen and he said he didn't say it. And Amy was in there and she confirmed it. She said, no, he didn't say anything.
So did you all hear it? Like, was it normal to hear a lot of voices in the church that like where there wasn't people there?
Oh yeah. Yeah, these demons can mimic other people's voices and things like that. And that's what would happen a whole lot of times. Yeah, because it's a wonder the kids got any work done at all, I was either having to go investigate down by the bathroom, the kitchen, or wherever. Yeah.
And it wasn't just like one person seeing them. You had different kids that were all seeing it.
Yeah, pretty much everybody. I don't think my dad ever did, but he was always in his office in the other building sometimes, so he might not have seen it or heard. But I know he heard something one time because we were outside the building and we could still hear it. Something loud crashing in the auditorium, but there was nothing there, so that was freaky.
Right. And
yeah, I don't know what
thank
that
you
was.
very much, Janice, for the super.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
In the church, I had a few questions, and if anybody has questions right now, I would kind of stop and asking questions. Try to put them all in capital so I can catch them, and I'll try to put them up for Dawn. One of the questions I had is like, did you see like different apparitions, or was it more or less just the Sally lady, or was it different ones?
It was different ones.
So it wasn't just being one person.
Right. Yeah, we had I myself saw the little boy with no head, the Sally woman. I guess I'm gonna call her Sally, but I'm not sure if that was the same one my nephew saw.
Right.
Trying to think. I saw the preschool teacher. There's at least 3 right there. Off the top of my head, until I haven't really familiarized myself with everything, but the other ones, I can't forget about. It's really hard to forget.
Was anybody
Okay.
ever like?
Huh. Oh,
Here we
Glenna
have
was asking a question. Yes, I did at my parents' house when I was 12 and a half up until I moved out, actually. Yeah, I did have ghostly experiences. That's a separate book. Well, I don't really have those written down, but I can pretty much tell you all the ones that I did have.
Did your dad by chance did he do any exorcisms or anything as a preacher?
No, no.
But you said he
I think that's more of a Catholic type thing, but there's a different way to do it if you are a born again Christian. There's a way to do it from the Bible standpoint.
did he study demonology or Satanism?
I think so. I think he had to in order to. I think I remember him saying he did, but I'm not 100% positive. I think
Right.
he did. And that's why
That
he
was
was so
long.
prominent with us not watching things. But, we moved here, it all broke loose because my neighbors introduced us to scary movies and stuff. So,
So it didn't happen until you started watching like scary movies and stuff.
well, no, not actually. We found out later that before our house was built, the next door neighbors had wandered over there and did a seance in the grass, because there was just nothing but an open field. And they had done a seance in that property. And I'm like, okay, that just, that probably answered that question
You
for
know,
me.
a lot of people don't know this, but in the area that we're located in, and especially where Dawn's at, was a high area for the cult and Satanism. It still has its problems. I don't think as bad as it was, but I've heard that it is ramping back up in that area. That they are finding sacrifices again right now. That was a really bad time back in them days. My
Hmm.
cousins were approached several times by Satanists, and they had tattoos, on their stomach of the 666, and they were branding themselves, and there was some humans that were sacrificed in the area, and it was a really dark time for Oklahoma in that area. Law enforcement didn't even want to go. I'm not going to give the name of the island, but to that island, I think you know where
Hmm.
I'm talking about. It's really close to you,
Yeah,
just across
really close.
just across the lake from me. And I fish out there in the dark, and we did go fishing there. And me and my mom and my family, and we got ran out of there. Some people showed up, and they got so rude and violent that it almost caused us to have a physical confrontation down there because they were throwing rocks at our poles, and you could tell they were not Christians because of, well, they had a dog down there, and we ended up calling the law because we had an idea what they was going to do to the dog because of the way they was treating it. So
Yeah. Well, I wasn't aware that there were sacrifices made, but that doesn't surprise me.
yeah, they had a door down there at one time, and it had a lot of different things written on it. And they believed that when they done these seances and poured chicken blood on it or whatever they would sacrifice, their belief was they could bring things into the world through that door. And the reason I know that's because that's what they were telling my cousin, trying to get her to join, which luckily she didn't. And I've heard it starting to ramp up a little bit more down there.
Yeah. Well, there was some people I know who had a dog that was disemboweled, but it was very weird. And that made the Facebook, and it basically they punctured just a hole in the stomach and pulled its intestines out in their
Right.
yard, their driveway. When they came home, they found the dog, and of course, there was some graffiti on an old bridge somewhere. That was
Mhm.
about, I don't know how many years ago, but the student that I was telling you about, the one that saw the ghost woman with me, a few years later, she had told me that she was in the next county over to the west, and she was at I think a hair salon or something like that, and somebody asked her to be. She said, "You need to come to our witches' coven or something like that," and she said no. And she goes, "Where's it at anyway?" And you have to understand, this girl is she's just like that. She likes to question things. And they said, "Well, it's in the same town where I live in, but it's not the actual town, but it's actually in the county area." And she goes, "Oh, there's about 400 of them out there." And I'm like, I didn't know whether or not I believed her, but there are things going on. And she said, "Well, how would I find you?" And she said, "Well," or this person said, "just follow the dead black cats." And I'm like, "Oh, great," because that's before I had my cat, who is
Right.
mostly black, by the way, and she stays indoors. And
Right.
so I'm not really sure, but see, her cousin went to our school too, and he said, "Don't ever be friends with anybody in my town." And she said, "Well, I'm friends with Dawn." And she goes, "Oh, well, Dawn's okay because she's a Christian, but anybody else, you can't trust them." And I thought, great, am I surrounded by these types of people I don't even know?
Yeah, it was
But
a
I can't
scary time.
imagine that because Yeah. Well, this was just recently. Yeah. This is like in the past 10 years.
Right.
Yeah, that's what scares me now is if it's back. They're very secretive because I haven't heard any kind of any stories. Yeah.
I'm actually going to be going down to that island in one of my videos. So
Oh,
we'll
I've been
see.
down there. It's creepy. It
It
is
is.
so creepy down there.
It's a creepy place. All
Yeah. Well,
right.
my two. I'll add this. My brothers are kind of into filmmaking, and so I was going down there with them in their truck a few years ago. This is just recently, like within the past 5 or 6 years, and we got a flat tire, and it was getting dark. And I said, "We're calling Dad because they couldn't fix it in time, so we had to leave the truck there and come back and do something." I said, "I'm not going back down there with you guys, no, because there's some really creepy people down there." So I'm like, "Nope, I'm done." No,
It is.
that is really
It's a
creepy.
it's a very creepy place. I'm thinking about what I'm going to do here in a couple of days. A lot of people have been asking me if I have a lot of coal mines around me where I'm having all these sightings. Is I want to
Hmm.
go video these coal mines and show everybody kind of the terrain and what we're dealing with in the daylight, so they kind of have an idea. You know,
Yeah,
it's there's a lot of hiding places. All right, if nobody
yeah,
has any questions, then
yeah.
I'll let you
And there are
continue.
some coal mines to the west of. It's still in my township area, so I don't know if you knew about that either.
Yes.
Okay,
All right.
so no more questions. Okay, so um, okay, so let's see here. Okay, so the last one was October 26th, and then I recorded something December the 5th of that same year. And often I would cook the younger kids' lunches because some of them needed it, on the stove or microwave. It kind of helped the process to go a little bit faster. So when they got into the classroom or the cafeteria area, the kitchen area, they could just eat. So I was cooking my two nephews, my lunch, and I think Amy probably cooked her own. There's some other people that cooked their own, but I was cooking us three's lunches. And then I heard three footsteps coming down from the learning center hallway, but I didn't tell anybody because kids aren't allowed to get up and walk around. And so a new student, a boy, had asked me to go into the pre-K room. I paused and contemplated whether or not to let him go because of what I'd heard down there or around that area. So I went ahead and I just let him go. And I was talking to Amy softly about what I'd heard. My two nephews were talking about cursive writing because we teach cursive writing. We definitely have never stopped doing that. And Amy and I heard this voice say, "Who said that?" And we looked at each other and I covered my mouth and said, "Uh-oh," because he heard something. And she goes, "What did he say?" I said, "He said, who said that?" So the boy comes down the hall and said, "Someone just said in a deep voice, 'Good.'" And he kept going back and forth down the hall with my two nephews, and he stood by the locker room and he looked like he had heard something. And later he said, after moving back into the kitchen area, he heard something crawling up the wall. And then we were talking about the boy who saw the three coal miners. And then that's when he told me the extra story that went with it because this boy that my mom was watching went to public school and the same public school as the other boy. And he said they wore one of them wore a mechanic hat, one of them had a comb stuck in his hair, and one had a haircut kind of like the student that was telling me the story. And then that's when they were scraping the wallpaper off with the nails, even though we didn't have any wallpaper. Um, and then so my sister comes over and we were talking about it in that pre-K's room, and suddenly the far light came on all by itself, and I flipped it on and off several times and it came on quick, but that freaked us out because it came on by itself. And then now my niece, she was still really little, but my sister was a preschool teacher at that time, I think. And so my niece would sit because nobody else could watch my niece except for my mom. But my sister thought, well, it would be better if she just took her to school. So she would always just, be be there. So the day after that encounter, I was fixing lunches again, and I could hear whispering coming down the hall in the south hallway. And that was where the bathrooms are. So then Amy comes out the second time and says, is my niece here? She said my niece's name. And I said, no. She said, well, I thought I heard her squeal because she's a little girl. She likes to squeal with laughter. I said, no, she's not here. And so she thought she heard her, squealing. I told her no. And then, let's see, the male student wrote down, it's kind of hard to read his writing, December 7th of 2005. He was walking to the bathroom today, and he basically said demons, because they went to our church, so they know what demons are. He said demons were back there and I can't read his writing, something over him, and it touched him, probably on the shoulder, probably. But I can't read his handwriting because he didn't have very good handwriting. And then, let's see. Then after Christmas break, it was actually on my birthday when this happened. Amy heard the boy's voice 4 times call her name, but it wasn't him. He was at his office, and she all heard this from behind the score station. This ink's kind of faded, so it's hard to read. Then I heard footsteps in the hallway while I was on the phone with one of my homeschooled mothers, and I was in a separate room, like I was out of the classroom into what we call the stock room. And then couldn't figure out where that came from. And then I did a lot of faxing of orders for our curriculum. So I was in there faxing an order. And where the carpet begins after the kitchen, a blast of cold air hit me in the face, and it moved my hair. Now that really freaked me out because we don't have any kind of vents in the hallway, really, that would have done that. Because by this time, I'd been in that church since 1982, and that nothing like that had ever happened. I mean, it blew my hair all the way back, and it really freaked me out. And then
Daryl wants to know, did you ever see any shadow figures when these names were called?
Not to my recollection. I didn't know. Some of the other students might have. Okay, how long ago were these happenings? This one was in 2006, the one I'm reading now. So it lasted from it's been going on since 82, but nobody recorded anything until let's see, when was my first recording? 2002, I believe. Yeah, 2002.
And then Brandy wants to know if you've had any poltergeist type activity.
Oh yeah, like all kinds of noises. Yep, smells. You name it.
Like, were the smells like cologne, food?
Rotten egg smell, like sulfur.
The sulfur smell, yeah. A lot of people say they smell the sulfur smell. It's
Yeah, I think I might have wrote some stuff about perfume smells. I just can't remember. But
do you know? I'm going to kind of touch on Brandy's question. I'm going to expand it just a little bit. Was anybody that you know of ever like touched? Like actually,
yeah, besides the ones that told me, when that ghost woman was standing next to me, I could feel heat, like something was about to touch me. I could feel that, like the sensation of somebody getting ready to touch me. And that still kind of bothers me, knowing that a demon was that close to me. That just really, I'm just glad I didn't see the face, because that would have been imprinted in my head forever,
Right.
My nephew.
Was there any throwing things, slamming doors, or turning on the water?
There were noises like that. In the water. I don't really remember. If I wrote it down, it would be further on down the way. But some people did see lots of shadows. And, you know, like I was telling my sister on the way back from a chiropractor appointment today, I said, you know, these kids came and left, and they didn't. I'm the only one that stayed there the longest besides my sister's kids. And that's a long time to be inducted into paranormal type stuff. That is very traumatizing. But I gave the best comfort I could to the students, you know. And some of the parents did know, which is fine. And they said, yeah, we'll pray for them and stuff like that. So, but that's not why they left. They usually left because they couldn't afford to come to school every day, you know, because it did cost money, or they moved away. But, yeah, we saw, shadows, heavy breathing, names calling, just about you name it. We saw it or heard it or felt it. Now, my oldest nephew, he claims that he tripped over a cat that wasn't there because it felt like a cat. And then he comes up and shows me all these scratches on his arms. But as somebody who's autistic, he does lie a lot or tell the story. Sometimes you can tell when he's telling a lie. So I don't know if he actually did it himself or something scratched him. But I'm trying to think. I might remember further on down the way if somebody, you know, was touched or not. I don't think so. Not except for what I already said. I just can't remember back that far.
Right.
But I do know, well, that's that one story that I can't wait to tell. That's really scary. It scared my niece so bad, and I wasn't there at the time, so I was late getting to school, but another woman was there waiting for me to get, you know, she was my preschool teacher, and that one scared them all to death. They were just literally crying and scared. And my niece is a sweetheart. She's like 20 now, so this happened when she was about 4 or 5, so it's been a while.
Right.
Okay, you're reading off the questions. In infestation of any kind. Infestation. You mean like Shannon wants to know about infestations? Are they talking about bugs or?
Probably, yeah. Like a lot of times there'll be an infestation.
Yeah, flies were everywhere and wasps, and I'm deathly afraid of wasps. You know, they just give me the creeps. But yeah, flies. I'm sorry, I'm distracted by outside cat fighting. Sorry, it's actually under my house, so that's why I'm really distracted. Yeah, and the flies were mostly in the old auditorium area. The wasps were everywhere. It's because we have like really, the roof just wasn't really built really good, so they were. Sorry, I don't know if y'all can hear that, but they're tearing up the inside of my house or outside of my house.
And Catherine said, "Did you say, Dawn, what your father had to say about all this?"
He basically told us to stop talking about it because we're bringing it in more. And I said, Dad, we're only talking about it when something happens, you know.
Right.
And I tried to leave him out of it, but I said, Dad, nobody's really talking about we're doing our job. I mean, I had the job of principal, teacher, secretary, janitor, you name it. I did it all. And
Right.
and so I was always busy. So that was the furthest thing from my mind, you know. But when these events happened, I decided to keep a record for proof that they actually happened because I'm not, you know, it's almost 20 years later and I don't remember. That's why I kept the book, you know, that way I have a good journal. And,
Right.
But yeah, Dad just, you know, the kids would tell my dad and he'd say, oh, you're just imagining things. No, Dad, the whole class sometimes would hear the same thing. But I'm the kind of person that if we saw or heard something, I try to find out what it was before we say it's a demon or a ghost, you know.
Right.
Like, where our building is situated, we can hear cows, we can hear horses. So if something says moo, kids say, "Oh, that was that." I said, "No, that's a cow. I can tell the difference." I grew up with cows, so I kind of know. But other than that,
All right. Well, I'll let you get to more then, so we can get to the scary stuff.
okay, yeah, it's all pretty scary. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, there. In our school, we would have these little stuffed animals that went with the grades like pre-K to, I want to say, sixth grade, and they're in our curriculum, so we gave them as like a visual aid kind of thing. So the stuffed dog toy name was named Wags, and I always had him on the podium that's set up front, so the kids can see something, kind and sweet and all that. Well, the stuffed dog fell down on the podium all by itself, and it'd been up there for several months without any kind of movement. So we don't know what that was about. Okay, so that was in January of 06. So fast forward to February 13th of 06. Let's see. Okay, Amy writes, went to the pre-3 room to find stuff for the merit store, because we had like a merit store. It's kind of like a little store. If they earn merit money, they can buy things like little toys or school supplies. She said that she opened the left door, which is the closest door to the bathroom, the women's bathroom. She heard a strange noise behind the door, out of eyesight. She looked but saw nothing out of the ordinary. So then she moved a big red box and began to walk around some things. Oh, I guess we had some piled things on the floor. And something white caught her attention, like it was an old computer monitor, which those were all turned off because they're not being used. And she said, "Turned off, by the way." When she looked back, it disappeared and the screen looked normal again. Then she says she looked behind her and saw nothing, but walked around a few things to the right upper corner to look in the boxes for the merit store things. And 2 yellow lunch boxes caught her eye, and one was still wrapped in plastic, but the other one was full of things. So she opened it, and it sounded like there were footsteps in the hall. So she looked, but she couldn't see anything. And she goes, "Then the hairs on the back of my neck stood up," and she shut the lunchbox and went out the door and rushed back to the learning center to tell me about it. And let's see. And so then after that, I guess nothing got recorded until August. And me and my oldest nephew heard footsteps coming into the learning center just after we got back from lunch. And I followed it and still heard it, but it stopped once I saw my niece. So I questioned the 3 preschoolers. They didn't come down our hallway because they were told that they weren't allowed down there unless we asked them to come down there. And same goes for the other kids. And so I got a glimpse of a kid wearing gray clothes. Now, we don't allow gray clothes, so I don't know where this came from. So I wrote down, so obviously something has happened again with Sally. And then September 5th, Amy wrote that Miss Dawn walked to the student's office and then back to her desk. And she said, "I heard her sit down. When I thought I felt her standing behind me, then I thought I felt her standing behind me. So as I turned around, I heard the sound of someone sliding a knife across a sharpening rock." And of course, I have very good ears, so I didn't hear any of that. And she said, "When I looked behind me, Miss Dawn was still sitting at her desk." And she signed her name, Amy. So she basically heard like what a knife scraping against a rock and everything. And so 23 days later, on September 28th of 06, now I had not moved out yet, so I was still living with my parents. So my sister, I'll use her name because she was in your previous show, Carrie, went to my house So I was alone in the learning center with her 3 kids, my niece, and 2 nephews. My youngest nephew was scoring his homework. The oldest nephew was talking. The radio was playing the usual classical music, because that's what I would always do, classical music. Nothing, or gospel music would play that, nothing other than that. And I distinctly heard 2 female voices whispering in the hallway. So I hushed the kids because they were kind of talking, because I think this was like, the only ones that were there that day. I wanted to hush them so I could hear the voices better, and I still heard them. So I called out my sister's name, but nobody answered. Amy. And I'm not sure where Amy was during this. So Amy didn't answer. It might have been after school, but I'm not really sure when that was. So anyway, I got up and I was going toward the hallway, and the doorway down by the water fountain, I felt a cold feeling and got goosebumps, but I found nobody and came back. So I'm not sure what that was about. Let's see. So October the 5th, school had just barely started, and I felt and heard vibrations by my supervisor's desk as I was writing, but nobody was there. The basket on the podium was moving from the vibration, and everybody was at their seats. So that means either we had a small earthquake, because we're prone to that, or it was, paranormal. And let's see, October 26th, everyone was at their office. I was at my supervisor's desk, and I thought I heard my youngest nephew whisper, "I hate the teacher." Now, he would never say that because he's a sweet young boy. I mean, he's a young man now, but he's a very sweetheart, much a sweetheart. And but we all know that demons say that you hate this and hate that. And he said he was only humming, but I didn't hear him hum. But I don't think he said, "I hate the teacher." He couldn't repeat the hum, but it sounded like his voice. Now, he does have he spaces out a lot, so sometimes he forgets. But then, and he hardly ever heard anything or saw anything. He's the only one that hardly heard. But this time he heard his name being called, but nobody said it, but I didn't hear it. So I'm not sure what, this was in the classroom. And let's see, no questions yet. Okay. So November 2nd, my youngest nephew was at the testing table, and I was going over to his desk to see what subject he was going to do next for a test. This is when I smelled a ghastly smell. It was like a human gas smell, but worse. I asked my 2 nephews if they had committed the act, if you know what I mean. And they said no. So I just wanted to do the process of elimination, because I wanted to make sure, hey, did you do it? If you did, so I'm not going to write it down because it wouldn't be spooky at that point. So, but the weird thing is, I smelled the same smell by my desk all week long. So I go into the kitchen to tell my sister, and she said she smelled it 2 times, and asked Jade if she committed the act, and she said no, the act of passing gas, But my sister said it smelled like a diarrhea gas. This time it was not sulfuric, which is a demon smell, but I got the chills like a demon was present. And so this is the weird part. So every time I lit a candle or blew it out, it stunk even more. So I said, to this day, I have not lit any more candles, because we had like scented candles. And I thought, well, we'd kind of eliminate the smell. But it made it worse, so I decided not to do that. Now, we do have propane tanks, but I know the difference between propane tanks and those. Okay. Shannon asked, why or how do they think the demons got or went there? In the first video we did on this, back in the 80s, we had a youth lock-in, and somebody invited a witch unknowingly, a teenager. And we did a head count, or I didn't do the head count, but our adult supervisors did a head count, and she was in a room by herself doing a seance, lighting incense, smoking marijuana, all that kind of stuff. And we really don't know, aside from that, there's probably all kinds of ways they could, be invited in. Even if you were to say something as simple, I invite you in, then they would probably come in, but you'd have to probably address it or something. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't want to know.
I would say the seance probably had something to do with it.
Yeah. And whatever that door, whatever it was that she did, I don't know, but I think the door has never been shut. I think it's like a continuing opening of the door. And but anyway, so no more questions yet. Okay. So November the 7th, I wrote down that yesterday, which would have been the 6th, Amy and I heard what sounded like footsteps as me, her, my oldest nephew. He was standing by the learning center door. My youngest nephew was at the table. My sister, my niece had went shopping with my mom, so they weren't there, and another student was absent. So, we heard footsteps, and then let's see. My sister, yeah, she had some paper cut peanuts that she used for her classroom, and she couldn't find one of them, and it landed on her desk somehow because I think she had them up on the wall or something. So don't know how that happened. November the 9th, I was in my office paying bills, and I heard what sounded like my teenage student saying a word like "aw," like a groan. So I go in there, and he was scoring and didn't say, and he said he didn't say it, but he needed me to help him on his math, so I helped him on the math. And then I had a basket on my desk, and it was moved 2 times, and I don't recall moving it because I'm kind of like OCD. I have everything set where it needs to go. And if it gets moved, it just bothers me. You can ask my brothers; they'll tell you that. That's what brothers do. They like to pick on their sisters. Well, anyway, I was the same day, huh?
Oh, laughing at the comments. I was reading comments.
Oh, yeah.
People
Okay,
are.
yeah. I was trying to be nice. I could say the actual word, but I was trying to be nice. Yeah. Yeah.
I needed that,
Yeah.
especially
I do have
whenever
a sense of humor.
especially when you described it as being the diarrhea smell. I about lost
Yeah.
it. I was
Yeah.
I was
That's my
I was
sister for you.
I was I was game face so hard. That was a tough.
Yeah. Let's see. So the same day, I guess I was redoing my niece's hair in the kitchen by the pre-K table. So they had their own little table or something. See, I can't remember back that far why they had their own table. So my sister, another woman who was, she was there helping us out, and her 2 boys, they were in front of me, and everybody else was in the learning center. And out of my left eye, I saw someone wearing blue jumpers. That's what girls were allowed to wear. Jumped on the sofa. I looked back to see who it was, but there was nobody there. But everybody was wearing white, except for me. I was wearing yellow, so I don't know what that was about. So we jumped to January of 2007, and I was at my oldest nephew's desk because his shirt was making his back itch. So he wanted me to help him scratch it because he couldn't reach it. And I heard my niece giggle by the water fountain, and Amy heard it too. So I said, well, here comes mommy. So we'll ask her for lotion to my nephew because that helps the itching on the back. But Carrie never came in. And so I asked my sister, Amy was with me, if she if she came in with Jade, and she said no. We were down the hallway or something. I can't remember what she said she was doing. So then I heard somebody sneeze, like my sister, in the kitchen, and I was in my office. So I went in there, and there was nobody in there. And then I did see a shadow going back to the learning center, so I followed it, but nobody was there. I also heard footsteps. And then I heard like a mixture between a scream and a sneeze. It's a very weird sound. And then Amy and I heard an adult female scream briefly. So we heard more. I think mostly we would always hear more vocals than we saw things, but it was a mixture. And yeah, it was really, I don't know how I survived it all those years.
Did you think
But I
any of it
did.
ever came, like from the church to your house? Do you think that ever happened? Did it ever like follow you home?
Well, at that time I was living with my parents, but no, our house was already haunted. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
All three buildings were haunted. The house and the two church buildings are haunted.
It makes
And
me wonder, like, what happened there? Like, what happened, or what was on the land prior, or did something happen there in the past, or
well,
it
something,
makes you wonder.
yeah, that too. But here's something that's very important that I just remembered. One of my best friends, uh, she got out of it, but she was into witchcraft, and her friend was also into witchcraft, but nothing like sacrificial. Like I think they practice what they call the good witchcraft type stuff. And I had heard this years ago, but I forgot. But something reminded me of it. And my dad said it is true because when he was in seminary, this is what he was taught. Every single church in America, I don't know about the world, but every single church in America has at least one person who is a witch. And the reason is because these witch covens, if they're around your area, they say you need to infiltrate this church and break it apart. That could be another reason too, because we did have a split a few years ago, and this woman had come in, and I could feel there was something off about her, but I didn't want to call her a witch because I just thought, well, maybe that's just her personality. But
Is she
she
still
left.
married?
No, she passed away. But before she passed away, she had taken away like, well, for example, I can't say for sure she was a witch because she went to church, but just because you go to church doesn't make you a Christian. Just like living in the garage doesn't make you a car. But they had a women's Bible study, and she decided to do her own Bible study. So she took all the women from that Bible study into her Bible study. And you have to do it. So that made the leader of the Bible study. Now, I wasn't at that Bible study because I was usually teaching school. So she created a lot of discord within the church. And when she left, all these women and their husbands left. And that was one split. And so she was doing it to another church. And my dad warned that preacher, and that preacher was well aware of it, but he went ahead and let her continue. And that caused a split in their church. That's what they do. So that could be probably part of that, area. And I did ask my two friends who were into witchcraft. They said, "Oh yeah, that is true. They're assigned different churches to go around and break up churches, and that's a
There
very
was
sad thing to do." Yeah,
an old
makes me
saying,
wonder though.
everybody was going to church one day, and Satan was sitting on the front steps, and as everybody walked up, he was, hating on them and, blaspheming. And this one guy walks up, he's like one of the last ones to show up to church. And he walks up to him and he goes, "Why are you out here aggravating everybody? Why aren't you inside?" And he says, "Because I already have them."
Mm, yeah, that's right. Yep, that's a scary thing too. Yeah, it's like, yeah, but now every church has a split usually, but and it's not anything that the pastor like my dad did or anything. But this last split, these people were saying the church isn't going to survive without us because we have all the money. And I didn't hear about that till after they left, but my dad told them the Lord will provide, and we have not had any financial problems. We have maybe 30 people in church on a regular day. We get new people all the time, so we've never had to take out a loan for anything. The church is already paid for, so we don't have to worry about that part. But we know that God is very prominent.
The church is not the building. The church is the people.
That's right. Yep. Yeah, because if something happened to that building, we'd still meet under a tree or somebody's house or something.
Jesus preached from the hill many times. It wasn't in a building. He found people on his way and on the trails, and church is where two or more are gathered in his name. There in the midst he is also. So that's a powerful thing to know that we can have him wherever we're at. He's always with us, and he's definitely never forsaken me. He's done a lot for me at times that I didn't even deserve it, and he continues to do it. And I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, and I know in our church we have seen some miraculous things happen that only God could do, and it's just an amazing thing. It's like my dad has the faith of a mustard seed. Or maybe was that the wrong thing to say? No, his faith is big, is what I mean to say. But Jesus said, "Have the faith of the mustard seed." I think I said that right. I don't know. It's been a long day. But
yeah.
Yeah. And so he's never waned in that. But yeah, so that's all that happened in 2006. So I probably will start 2007 whenever, because we're over on the next one
now. We'll take questions. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and post your questions. We've been at an hour now, and if you have any questions, I'll try to catch them right now. I'm kind of slow, but I'm sure y'all have questions. We're going to actually visit this church. Hopefully, this is kind of the we're trying to work up to the climax of actually going there and doing a walkthrough. Maybe it'll follow Dawn home and not me.
No. I already had spooky things happening at my house.
It sounds like you all already got company there for it, so that would be better.
Okay, Glenna wants to know if I ever had any night terrors or sleep attacks. At my house, I did. Not here where I live, but at home. But I don't want to talk about that one. That one's too painful to talk about that one. Yeah, but night terrors, I always had nightmares. I always had nightmares.
Like what Glenn is saying now. Let me think. Maybe 1, 2, 3 times in my life, I have been held and not able to get back up. I could hear what was going on around me. I could feel my child touching me one time. I was able to see, hear, function, think, feel the bed on me, everything, feel my child hitting me, but I was not able to move. I spoke with a preacher about it, and he told me to memorize in my head over and over and over to leave me alone in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. And when it happened, to think it, and it would have to let go. The last time that it did happen to me, I did think that, and immediately I was released. So I think it's important to share that with you guys to let you know if you're having that trouble, remember that in your head and always go to that. It really did help me. Here's a pretty tough one.
Yeah. Yeah, a friend of mine had that same thing where he was held down, and for over 2 hours he couldn't move, but he had to slowly think of a prayer because his thoughts were being he couldn't think about praying. He was in that much pain, and that happened in my town too, but not in the actual town, but in the countryside where the town is and everything. Right. And then let's see, sleep paralysis. No, I don't think I've had that. No, but I've had bad dreams, and I've recorded some of my dreams in in the dream journal. But
You
yeah,
could be
some of
like
them are
Stephen
just
King.
really
Start writing a book.
yeah,
Writing your dreams.
yeah, writing more. Yeah, my books right now I write are mainly fiction and detective type, or like not detective, but yeah, kind of solve a mystery
Mystery.
type thing. Yeah, Christian fiction. Yeah.
Here's a good one. That's a good question here. Paula wants to know if you've ever blessed these places.
I tried. It it didn't work. Well, let's see. I tried during school because I heard noises. I was praying by myself, and they said my name so scaredly. I just quit. I said, okay, I can't do it because I by myself I was just too scared. Now my youngest brother, he went in there. You have to know him to understand. He went there and said, "I want you all to leave my niece alone." I'm thinking, why not your sister? Why why not your other two nephews? Why is it my niece? Because they love my niece to death, which I do too. I feel like she's my daughter because I helped raise her when she was a baby and after school. Um, and so I'm very close to her. But I'm sitting here thinking, so and that's when he thinks that they jump from that building to the other building. I said, no, they don't. They're not going to listen to you. You don't have the authority, and he knows that. You have to say Jesus' name, and you got to do all these things like pray over it and all that kind of stuff. But so I was like, well, thanks to my youngest brother. I said, thanks for not thinking of me and your other two nephews. Yeah, just your sister.
Right.
You know how boys are.
Right.
I love my brothers to death. They're a mess.
All right. Well, it looks like we've got pretty much all the questions. So, well, I'll put the next live out we have coming up for the next one. I have a live coming up. I think it's Thursday. I'm going to have April on the show. She had an encounter with a Mothman-like creature, so you're not going to want to miss that one. It's a pretty scary story. I've talked to her a little bit about it, and what she's seen is scary as hell. And she's going to talk to us about that. Um, and then I believe after that, on the 21st, I'm going to have a live. It's going to be a question and answer live where everybody can come directly at me. So hopefully I'll have Dawn and Bettina and hopefully Barb will all be there to be able to moderate that. Those are usually really big because I'll be singled out, I'm sure, because I'm the only one that's going to be on, unless maybe I could talk somebody into sitting in with me. Try to think. And then I believe the 25th, I'm going to be on a podcast. Uh, yeah, I think the 25th I'll be on one. And just a busy schedule going on. I've got like 5 stories right now lined up, but I'm working on this big case. It's taking a lot of time. Dawn knows how much time it's taking me to work on this. It's a huge case, a lot of information, and I got dropped at the last minute where I'm the only investigator, and that really hurt because I wasn't expecting that to happen. But we're making it through it. I got some good help. Dawn, Barb, and Bettina all stepped up whenever I needed them when everything kind of went to crap, the diarrhea kind, and they kind of pulled me out of it, and I think we're back solid now. So I think we'll keep
So
moving
solid
forward.
from diarrhea to solid, huh?
That's right. But I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. We do have the YouTube membership up now if y'all are interested in joining it, supporting the channel. And we would love to have you on there. It's as simple as under the video. Just click to join. But until next time, guys, be careful, keep your head on a swivel, and don't be something's dinner.
Yeah. And thank you guys.